Welcome back to our YouTube channel.
Hey!
Sensory deprivation!
Woo!
We did it.
Yes, we did.
And here's what that is, how it went, and anything else.
Yeah! Basically, like, our thoughts on it and just, like, everything about it. Yeah. So, let's get right into it. What is sensory deprivation, you ask? Well, good question. Sensory deprivation is you lying in a pitch black tub filled with salt water when you can't hear anything, all you smell is the salt, you float, yada yada yada.
I didn't smell salt. Did you smell the salt?
I smelled the salt. Oh my god, it was very strong.
I just have a well, like I went originally when I walked in, but not through like the middle.
So yeah, like I guess like I kind of adjusted, but like
basically these like float pods are like, it kind of looks like an egg. I'll try to like insert a photo. But they're like this egg, and it's got a door that like, there's two types. Mine had a door that opened like up, and yours had a door that opened like out.
Yeah, ours, or the one that I used,
boxy.
Yeah. So the one that I had was like more of like a box shape with like a pull-out door.
Yeah, and basically there's 10 inches of water on the bottom, and it's filled with 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt, so that you completely float on top effortlessly. Because I don't know, when y'all go swimming, like, obviously it's not easy to just float on top of the water. It takes like some effort. So it takes absolutely no effort, and basically you have options. So you could leave your pod door open if you wanted to. You can go with a swimsuit or without a swimsuit. You can keep the light on or light off. It's all really like choice. But basically, what I did for the complete experience is I closed the door, I got in, you sit down, and then you lean back, and there's even like a halo thing for your head that can like help with just like keeping your neck kind of situated.
Yeah.
And basically, and then there's a button in there, and I turn the light off, and they start with music to kind of ease you in, and then they also do music at the end to like bring you out, but otherwise in the middle, it's like complete silence. You have earplugs so that, kind of to help with the water getting in your ears, like, because you don't really want the salt in your ears. It's not.
Yeah, because the thing with the water is when you're in it and you're covered in it, it feels like you're covered in oil on your skin.
It was really slimy by the end of it.
Yeah, but then it's like on your face, when your face wasn't like in the water, it'd like dry up, and then it'd leave like salt kind of like crust on you.
Yeah, because for when it dried. But basically, you shower before you get in, you lie down, and then you turn the light off. And by the time music stops, like, eventually I was lying there for so long that I really couldn't feel anything like below my neck. Like, if you just like don't move, and the water and the air in the tank are the same temperature as your skin temperature. Yeah. So pretty much like it's all the same temperature. Your body's not worrying about like heating or cooling itself, and you can't tell where the water starts and you end. And it was a really cool experience to kind of get rid of those senses. I know some people have trouble with like the pitch black kind of space and closed space, but I didn't have an issue with that.
Yeah. And I also think that like it seems like it'd be kind of claustrophobic, but actually, I don't know about in your pod, but in my pod, like, you could literally stand up without like touching the ceiling. Like, it was pretty big.
I definitely couldn't stand up in mine, but it was fairly spacious. It reminded me of a couple weeks ago I slept in a Quincy, which is basically like a makeshift igloo that like you pile snow and dig it out, and that's really what it made me think of.
So my experience with it was a bit rough at first. I was kind of like the first few minutes I was going in and out because I wasn't sure if I wanted like the Halo headrest thing or if I wanted like earbuds. But after like kind of like going in and out a few times and like debating it, I ended up with an earbud in my right side, but I didn't want to have it in my left side because I wanted to be able to like hear the music because the music seemed a bit faint. So I was afraid that I was like, they're gonna tell me to wake up and I wasn't gonna like hear the music and stuff. So I just felt comfortable leaving one out, and I ended up using the headrest too. And it took a while because I was very like antsy, which I kind of didn't like because I wanted to be like more relaxing, get comfortable faster. but my perfect position was using the headrest. I tilted my head to the right a bit. I crossed my legs. My arms were like out in the water, and I like leaned to the right a bit. And for me, that was the perfect position where I was able to just eventually stop being antsy and everything and just kind of like relax. Although for me, that did like take a while to do, so I didn't, because then like by the time I'd gotten comfortable, it's like, oh, it's already over.
Yeah, my positioning was basically just like my legs were straight out. They were fairly actually far apart, like because it's just a completely natural resting position. Like you don't really want to engage your muscles at all because you want to have that relaxation. And then I had my arms like out at my side and they were again fairly far out, but also it was actually really comfortable to like have them up like this, which I thought was weird because like if any other time I lie like this, I'm like, oh, that like it's not natural. Yeah. So, but I was kind of surprised how much I liked that.
Yeah, at the beginning I noticed it more, but it kind of felt like my shoulders like floated up, and I felt like this the entire time.
You had to kind of push them down, and I had to straighten out my neck a few times because I felt I was getting like a little bit of tension there.
I tried to like pull down my hands more to like keep my shoulders down, but there's also the suggestion of like bringing your arms like completely above your head and floating them. I didn't try that, but I think that maybe that's something to try next time.
You also like shower before and after, and especially after, just to make sure that you get like all the salt off of you, because like we said, it's like really oily, but then it also dries your skin out. So there's like body washes and shampoo and conditioner so that you can get it all out of your hair. And
it's really nice because you literally walk into your own room and you get changed in that room and everything, and it's very private and personal, and I like that because I felt like I could like get out and like move around a bit.
Yeah, I think my least favorite part was getting out because the pod is so warm, it's to your skin temperature, but obviously to keep the entire room that same temperature would be a lot. So as I was like coming out, I went to go open the door and I like realized, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like cold out there. So I was like slowly inching it open, trying to gradually let myself, but honestly I came out and I was like, oh, I'm shivering, and the shower didn't heat up fast enough for me to just dive right in. So I stood there shivering for a minute and I was like, well, this is anti-relaxation.
Yeah. So the lights outside the pod are, well, they're like really dimmed, which is nice because it's like even when you're out there, it's
especially when you're coming out of the pitch black environment of the pod. You're like,
but then after a while, they're on like motion sensors, so after a while they'll go out. And even with my door closed, there's like a tiny like sliver of light in like the top corner of the door. And so when I was in it and I turned the light off, I could still see that. I could figure out like, okay, there's the door. And then after a while, when I was in there, it turned off. And I kind of forgot that it was going to turn off, so that kind of freaked me out for a minute because I'm just like, oh my god, I'm in complete pitch black, and like it kind of just freaked me out.
Dark.
Yeah, because it's like you can't see the walls or anything. So then it just kind of took me a minute to like kind of almost like get in touch with my like, with like it took me a moment to understand that I didn't have any vision, that everything was pitch black. I actually ended up like getting up and then like getting the light to be back on because it just like freaked me out. So I had to like open the door, wave around, got the light back in, but then later I remembered that it was going to turn off, so then I kind of just was more calm, but it definitely like took me by surprise.
One of the only like feeling things that kept bringing me out of it was if you move too quick in the water, you can't feel the water. It's not like the water doesn't exist. But then occasionally I would just like bump into a wall and then I bump into the other one, and because like you can only be so still, especially because you're still moving because of like your breathing. So obviously you're still somewhat moving. You can't be entirely still. So eventually I'd float over here, and then I'd float over here, and then I'd be like, at one point I was like at the bottom of the pod, and I was like, well, I gotta reposition myself.
Yeah, and I was getting antsy towards the end, and I started playing the fun game of, putting my foot on like the floor, and then like I'd like wiggle my way to the end. And like where the door was, and then I'd like push myself off, and then I'd like push myself from my head.
Go back and forth.
Yeah, and it was still kind of nice because it was still relaxing to have that like bit of like intentional movement.
Yeah, one of the things is it was an hour. It was like a full hour in the pod, and then you had like 5 minutes before, 10 minutes after to kind of get yourself organized. But it's a long hour. Like like when I meditate for maybe like 10, 15 minutes of just silence or whatever. And even when I do yoga, like you do Shavasana for like 10 minutes and then move on. But it was an hour of just lying there. And as somebody who does not sit still very well, like it took and I wanted to do it, like I wanted to be in there for the whole hour and be still and like let my body have the relaxation that it needed. Because I do so much physical activity, like I know my muscles get strained, and I was like, they need to just be still for an hour. But it was about halfway through, you're like, I need to move or something. I started like kind of swaying back and forth at one point.
Yeah, and for me, I thought that I would be more relaxed and like get into it faster than I actually did, because like there's times like when I'm riding the bus every morning, I'm staring at the window listening to music and my mind just kind of like wanders, and I thought it'd be like that, but like without music and like obviously nothing to look at. But I think the fact that I had nothing to look at and that I was in the pitch black, like I physically couldn't get my brain to just like think about stuff, which maybe I was so relaxed, but I feel like that's kind of what I was expecting.
I actually kind of like that, is that like I would think of something and I'd be like, oh, I have this assignment to do, and I would actually like in my brain and like mental picture, I would take the word of like assignment and I'd be like, throw it out the window. I'd be like, there's no place for those outside problems in my little pod. Also, I feel like this experience was the closest thing I'll ever get to, like, being in space.
Yeah.
Because you're lying there, and just the fact that I didn't feel like I was touching anything, and I felt like I was floating, I was like, this is the closest I'm gonna get to space.
Yeah. And I don't know, I just think that when you don't have anything to see, you don't have anything to hear, like, things that you do see and hear trigger thoughts in your head and triggers your mind to start wandering, where I think that because there was none of that, you couldn't think of anything, which was pretty good. Like,
triggered my mind to just do nothing. It's also so weird to think about, like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, just to think about nothingness, to think about, like, the feelings of, like, what do you feel, but you don't feel anything, or what do you see? You don't see anything. What do you hear? Like, I don't hear anything. Your brain just kind of...
It's kind of like thinking with your body more than your mind.
Taking in the whole experience.
Yeah. Like, you know, like... I would like splash in the water a bit, and that would be kind of like my thinking of this process, and like, So that was our experiences and thoughts on sensory deprivation
and float pods.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching and listening, and now we're gonna deprive you of our company, our enjoyment. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.